Did you know that bilingual children can outperform monolingual children by up to 50%? And not only on language, but this is a cognitive superpower. And we ended up weighing out lots of options and settled for English and German for starters, not eliminating Shona, but the introduction to Shona was like more unconventional and unique, but I'll touch on that as we go. The key reason why it was so important for us to decide from the get-go which languages he speaks is because we opted to go for the one parent, one language route. So his dad would exclusively speak with him in German, and I would exclusively speak with him in English to eliminate confusion and to just make it easier for the child to be like, okay, dad speaks German, mom speaks English. And with time, he can like figure that out by himself. At the end of the day, kids are like language sponges. So the earlier you start introducing them to multiple languages, the better it is. So last year when we're visiting my sister and her family in Australia, our son was speaking in German. And while we were also speaking, of course, with my nephews in German, and we were so amazed by their perfect pronunciation of like what they were repeating in German. And it's like, wow, I was like to my sister, this is the perfect time for them to learn German. Okay, they don't need German, but like the younger your kids are, I would highly encourage you, if you have the opportunity, to start introducing them to a language they currently don't speak whilst they're young, because they're just gonna absorb it all. And they have it so much easier than some of us trying to learn a new language at our age. Okay, so like we all know, kids' primary goal in life is to have fun. So when you're trying to teach a child a new language, I think you should really maximize and focus on the fun aspect of it. If I were to introduce my child to a new language right now, of which Shona is not new, but I'm now going to like proactively teach him how to speak Shona, I'm not going to be doing it with flashcards. You do it through songs, through music, books. When he was a baby, I know my sister, his auntie, she taught him, ow ya, ya, nana, ow ya, ya. Ow ya, ya, nana, ow ya, ya. And that's something we sing in Zimbabwe when you're trying to, to engage a child and get them to come towards you. He loved it back then. And to this day, when he's not listening, when he's doing something silly in whatever corner he is, if I start singing, ow, yow, ya, nana, ow, yow, ya, it's the repetition and the fun factor. He understands the meaning of it. If I say, hey, come here, he's gonna laugh at me. So, make it fun. And then on the songs aspect, I thought to myself, okay, this child is listening to nursery rhymes, but I'm saying I want him to be speaking Shona now. So instead of listening to nursery rhymes in the car, I started playing, my Zim Jams playlist in the car. And he's been loving Zimbabwean music. Guys, he's learning Shona through my music. But the Shona he's learning obviously is not day-to-day Shona. His current favorite song is, Ndindambata. And he'll randomly be walking around the house saying, Ndindambata, Ndindambata. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so cute. But I'm like, okay, I need to refine my strategy, because it's not every day you're going to butter someone. Or you'll be saying, Furuwa, Furuwa. It is so cute. But yeah, introducing music and a playful aspect to it is important, even for us adults. On the aspect of raising bilingual children, it's very important to be consistent, but you have to be flexible and have realistic expectations. Okay, so I gave the example of, when our son stopped speaking English, I had to be the adult in the equation and continue to speak English. As weird as that was, especially when you're in public. Your child is speaking with you in German and you're responding in English. Sometimes people will be like, okay, what are you actually trying to do? And there are days when the child may not want to speak one language or the other. People shouldn't be too harsh. Just make sure your child doesn't have negative associations with whichever of the languages they're speaking, right? So if today you don't feel like speaking English, okay, that's your business. I'm going to carry on speaking English. If tomorrow he doesn't feel like speaking German, that's his problem. The dad will still speak with them in German. and they come around. I don't know what happens upstairs, with how they select which language to speak, which not to speak. But I have a colleague, he has a daughter that's round about the same age. He's Italian, and they speak Italian with their children. And round about the time where I was saying my son no longer wants to speak English, his daughter also didn't want to speak Italian anymore. So this may be something typical, for that age. They're finding themselves, they're discovering the preferences. You just continue with whatever the plan was, but be realistic with your expectations, keep things flexible, and, don't forget the fun factor. Also very important, when you're teaching your child a certain language, create real life opportunities for them to be exposed to this language and to be able to speak it. This is one of the reasons why I was like, okay, Shona will be introduced at a later stage, right? Because there are more opportunities for me to expose them to English here than there are to expose them to Shona. So I wanted his learning curve for English to be very steep so I can quickly switch and introduce Shona. So if I was doing Shona right now, I probably wouldn't be ready to now switch and introduce him to English. But I'm happy with the decision that we made because, we got where we wanted to get with English, and I can happily and confidently make that switch to Shona. And for us, this method was faster than if I had done it the other way around. When I was in Zimbabwe before moving to Germany, did a basic German course. When I was in Zim, I was thinking, yeah, I can speak German, I got this, I was practicing, and then you do the language test that you need to do to get your visa. I passed that and I was like, my German is solid. And then I moved here. Guys, you don't walk around everywhere telling people, hi, I'm 18 years old. I did my A-levels. That is not day-to-day German. So if you're teaching somebody something and they don't have the opportunity to actually apply it in real life, it's a bit difficult for them to learn it, and their learning curve will be very, very, flat. Language is deeply connected to identity. So when we're teaching Shona, we're not just teaching words, we're teaching values, a sense of belonging, and we're passing down traditions. So I'll give an example. I've already expressed that my son knows a bit of Shona, right? And this is something I'm now ready to fully transition to. But when we're visiting my sister for New Year's, of course you say, hi, how are you doing? But in that very moment, I realized this child is now old enough and ready to actually understand and grasp the meaning of Makadi. So I said, we gotta say Makadi now. Taught him how to say Makadi, and he's a guy, so he's gotta do the hand thing like this. And he's learning, he did it. Now, if I was just teaching him to say hi, hello, he wouldn't know that this is how we do it. But he's learning how to appropriately greet the elders and what the tradition around that is. And I'm so excited about it. This is something I wouldn't be passing on to him if I wasn't teaching him Shona. Because you don't say, hello. So yes, I've had friends and family reach out to me, especially when I started this YouTube channel. And a few of them expressed that they are having challenges getting their children to speak Shona or Ndebele or Sutu, whatever your mother tongue is, whilst they're out, overseas, whilst they're abroad, and without explicitly living within your household. I can't see what the situation there is, but I think that just be consistent. You cannot force your child to speak a language that they want to speak. That's a fact. So if you as a parent, you're playing your part, if it is Shona that you're trying to teach your child, do your part and exclusively speak with your child in Shona. They're going to understand. The most important part of learning a language is to understand, right? You can't speak something that you can't understand. So do your part, speak the language, and continue to speak it so that they associate that language with you. And as they grow older, like I said, I don't know what happens in their brains, but as they grow older, at some point they're going to start speaking it. Or you may go to Zimbabwe one day and your child wants to be you'll be shocked. Your child will be speaking Shona. We also have those cases where they'll be like, hambo tauri Shona kana tiri kunzoko. Yeah, well, anenge achitaura Shona yacho nani? So I think it's really important to enrich your children, expose them to as many languages as possible. And if it's your mother tongue, speak that language, whether they're not speaking it or not. Yeah, you would have played your part. So I hope that you found this insightful, especially for those of you that are having challenges, getting your children to speak the mother tongue. I know my son is a toddler, so of course I've implemented some of these things pretty early. But if you have elder children, I think it's still not too late for you to make that switch. If you realize I'm speaking the whole time in English and expecting my child to speak in the mother tongue, you need to change something. Do your part, and also later on, your child can't turn around and say, "You never taught me." Because you can say, "I was speaking the language, you were living in the same household." So you can't say, "I didn't teach you." Raising a bilingual child can really feel challenging, but I think it's something worth pursuing because it's a gift you're giving your child. You open their world, especially in today's world in light of globalization and all of that. I think it's a really big plus if a person can speak more than one or two languages, and that's in our hands as parents to give to our children. So whether you're raising your child abroad or you're raising your child back home in a multi-language setup, I think, yeah, your child is so lucky to have that richness in their lives. If you found this video insightful, please like this button. Don't hesitate to subscribe to my channel. A lot of the viewers, most of the viewers that are watching my videos are actually not subscribers, so please subscribe to this channel. And if you have something to share about raising bilingual children, please drop those comments in the comment section. I look forward to hearing from you and reading your insights, and see you next time. Bye.
Like, comment, subscribe, and share.